it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, March 8th. So today we will see the moon in Aquarius energy go void, of course, at 1:57 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be locking into Pisces energy at 8:05 p.m. And of course, that is going to open us up to the new moon energy window. We will be having our new moon in Pisces on the 10th. And so as soon as we dive into this Pisces energy, we are closing out this last chapter, not only of the lunar cycle that we've been in under the new moon in Aquarius influence, but we will be moving into the last chapter of this astrological calendar under the new moon in Pisces. So definitely looking forward to that. Today is also the very last day that Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we are expressing ourselves, will be in this Pisces energy. Again, Mercury is moving into Aries here tomorrow. There is an astro forecast out and available for your listening pleasure. And we are definitely going to feel a major shift in our mood, in our attitude, in our dialogue, in our focus, in our ideas. It's definitely the pick-me-up that we need, and it's taking place at a beautiful time as we dive into the new moon in Pisces, the last new moon of this old astrological calendar, and we await Venus kind of closing out her time through the Aquarius energy, as she'll be diving into the Pisces energy shortly after the new moon in Pisces pops off. So we definitely have a very interesting weekend coming at us. So with all of that being said, there are 12 different aspects taking place here today. 10 of them are going to involve the moon. The moon, while still very much in Aquarius energy, is going to sextile, beautiful interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer, in this Aries energy. What I love about this is that we are, because the moon in Aquarius over these last couple of days have allowed us to be emotionally detached long enough to actually see our lives, our circumstances from the bigger, broader picture, acting as the observer. We have essentially plucked out the areas of our lives that are very essential in our building towards this new version of self. We are seeing the growth, we are seeing the healing, we are seeing the repairment take place in our physical bodies, in our energetic bodies. And of course, if you're wondering, well, I haven't really seen the healing, but I've definitely been seeing the suffering. Well, that is part of the healing process. So we are seeing ourselves from a different set of eyes. We are seeing our lives from a different set of eyes. We're seeing our pain and our trauma and our wounds from a different set of eyes. And from that, we are going to be able to build upon it, really pushing the boundaries of our comfort zones, really pushing the boundaries of our potential, of our capabilities. And of course, all of this building process is helping us to lighten the load as we jump into a brand new cycle. The moon is then going to interact with the sun in Pisces energy. This is a positive interaction, bringing forth a new emotional aha moment, a new emotional awareness, a new emotional want, need, or desire. That moon in Aquarius energy, very visionary, putting us in situations that we're trying to figure out different alternatives that we would be preferring over some of the situations and circumstances that we're currently sitting in. The sun shining a bright light in this Piscean energy is highlighting the endings, the closures needed in order for us to start fresh, for us to begin again. This is putting us in a beautiful situation to be inspired by some of the downloads, some of the visions, some of the goals, some of the dreams that we are finally starting to realize that we now have that are pushing us into a new path, into a new direction. The moon in Aquarius is going to come up to, bump into, team up with Mars. Mars is the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, even our anger in this Aquarius energy. So we love this energy although it could kind of manifest as a not so nice vibe before it does turn into a positive vibe, let's talk about that first and foremost. Anytime that we have the moon or any other planet coming into a conjunction with another planet means that this is an ending and a beginning of a new cycle. Because the moon is involved, this is an emotional cycle. Because Mars is involved, this is about new passions, new desires, new inspirations, new wants, needs to actually make moves, to make progress, to really pursue a brand new path. Now, granted, we could be fueling this particular drive with passion, with excitement, with desire, or anger, frustration, agitation, anxiousness. Doesn't really matter what fuel we're tapping into. It is motivating us to make a great change, to progress ourselves on a path into new foreign territory where we can actually prepare. Again, we're cultivating this inner fire, this inner flame, in order to sustain us through this, I'm going to say, initiation chapter that we're about to jump into. We know that anytime we're making any kind of adjustments, it's hard. We know that initiating a new path, new plan, new strategy towards a new goal, new vision, new dream is hard. And so we have to be cultivating the right kind of fire, the right kind of fuel, the right kind of steam in order to actually push us through. So of course, if this manifests in a not so nice way, we're going to be sitting in that restlessness, in that agitation, in that frustration, in that anger. But of course, we can use that as a beautiful framework to launch us into the path, into the direction that we are now kind of anxiously awaiting to jump into and pursue. The moon is then going to get into the boxing ring, square off with Uranus. Uranus rules over this Aquarius energy, so this is going to be a little bit of an intense interaction. Uranus is in Taurus energy. Taurus energy is a fixed earth sign, so we are kind of realizing that some adjustments need to be made in our physical realm, in our physical form. But the moon in Aquarius energy is a little bit too far into the future for us to feel comfortable in. Meaning, yes, we know that we're on the precipice of change. Yes, we know we have to make major changes and transformations, but we're not really ready to do so. There's that resistance, that hesitancy coming from that Taurus energy. So we are at this point just trying to open up our mind and our heart space to doing things differently, to making those changes, to making those adjustments without applying the pressure to have to do it right now. And so there is this element where if this was a positive interaction, we would be gaining clarity, we would be seeing the opportunity for growth, we would be seeing the opportunity to make changes and kind of move into a different direction. But a square kind of illuminates where it is that we are too stuck in this present moment, stuck in the here and now, holding on to what it is that we've already built and created, to really kind of explore that particular visualization that we have to come up with in order to actually start manifesting. So emotionally speaking, we want to move forward. We want to be thinking about, living in a different circumstances. However, we're confused on how to do that. We're confused and overwhelmed with the to-do list on what that would actually require us to have to do to break away from the old and actually start building towards the new. And so we kind of get tunnel vision. We aren't as open as we kind of need to be at this particular point in time. And we are creating a lot of anxiety where technically there doesn't need to be any. 10:06 a.m., again, Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves, in this Piscean energy, the very last degrees of this Piscean energy, coming up, bumping into, teaming up with Neptune in his place of power in this Pisces energy, again, towards the latter degrees of this Pisces chapter. So this is actually a beautiful interaction. First of all, it's going to kind of turn the volume down on where it is that we have been blocked or challenged in our mental plane. Many of us, again, in this Pisces energy, having a hard time kind of understanding or analyzing a lot of the thoughts, a lot of the ideas, the epiphanies popping off within us. This Piscean energy, very interpretive at this point. We can't really lock anything down. And because of that, we're kind of confused, we're kind of overwhelmed. Well, Mercury aligning with Neptune, first of all, is going to remove that mental block. So that's great, especially once Mercury dives into Aries energy here, there's going to be no stopping us. Secondly, we are thinking or even finding ourselves in conversations where we're talking about our dreams. We're talking about the options, the opportunities to make some changes. We're talking about new visions, new goals that we're kind of, still percolating on and formulating a plan about. And this is going to be a time where we kind of lose ourselves in la la land. It's very imaginative, very creative. We are in this energy where suddenly things are starting to make sense. And we have a very strong pull on our intuition with this particular transit. And at this point in time, our minds are as open as they could possibly be to any kind of suggestion, any kind of option, any kind of possibility that we haven't thought of as yet. And a lot of that is because the Piscean energy kind of beats us down until we're willing to wave that white flag and surrender and open ourselves up to some suggestions that maybe we wouldn't even have considered maybe even 3 days ago. So we're very inspired. We're very I'm going to say whimsical, if you will. The downside is that we have no details. We are very unclear, very vague on how we would go about even making any of these changes or adjustments. We can lose ourselves to some kind of delusional type of visualization as well. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew. We also don't want to delude ourselves into thinking that we can achieve these great big moves, take these great big actions and actually have them work out first time, full stop. And so at this particular point in time, we're trying to actively kind of reframe our lives and kind of explore different choices, decisions, and options so that we can come up with a different visual that, again, we can start aligning with. Again, Pisces season, realigning, recalibrating, and we can actively start taking action upon them if we could just kind of nail down some details. Our imagination is running wild at this point. So we just have to be a little bit more mindful that we're going to go to those extremes that are unachievable at this point. And then we're going to have to reel ourselves in and bring ourselves back down to earth a little bit in order to figure out what can actually stick, what we can actually bring forth, what we can actually build, what we can actually create. Nonetheless, this is a beautiful energy. We're going to start kind of gaining little bits of clarity, especially once Mercury moves into this Aries energy here tomorrow. We are definitely going to start kind of seeing where the pieces are snapping together, revealing a lot more information and details than we've currently been working with. We sit in this energy for a couple of hours, then the moon in Aquarius energy is going to come up to, bump into, team up with Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money in this Aquarius energy. So again, we're in a situation where there is an ending and there is a beginning. This is the last aspect that the moon in Aquarius will be making before going void, of course, and it is definitely going to shake up and wake us up to new wants, needs, and desires that would make us happy, that would make us feel safe and secure and supported in our lives. And of course, the Aquarius energy that both the moon and Venus are currently sitting in provides us with the emotional detachment needed in order for us to be able to think about making some changes and adjustments without our emotions blinding us and paralyzing us in a state of non-action. So the ending that is coming here is kind of realizing where it is that, some relationship dynamics, some ways about going through our day-to-day lives, some routines, some money matter situations, they need to change in order for us to be able to actually build a realm and reality that not only looks good, but that feels good. And the Aquarius energy is very visionary, wanting to do better, wanting us to improve on certain situations and areas of our lives that, of course, are not providing us with happiness, joy, pleasure, safety, security, or stability. So this is a revamping, a realignment of our heart space, identifying where major changes have taken place in our heart space and what that now means for us in needing to take action in our physical realm to start mirroring back to us what it is that we've already arrived at in our inner realm. So major change in priorities, in values, and likely seeing our relationship dynamics from a totally different perspective. It is at this point in time that the moon is going to go void, of course. And when the moon is void, things are shaky, things are unstable, things are uncertain. We don't want to start new things. If anything, we want to step back from taking action. We just want to observe. We just want to kind of see the hints, the clues, the connections, the details popping off for our awareness at this particular point in time. While the moon is void, though, we do have the moon interacting with Neptune. Neptune, of course, in his place of power in Pisces. This is a positive interaction, which means that we are very strong in holding our intellect to a certain point so that we're not getting lost in la la land that, of course, Neptune and Pisces wants us to do. But we're also firmly footed in that, I'm going to call it dreamy area, that intuitive area, that whimsical area that, of course, the Pisces energy needs us to kind of swim in order for us to conjure up a new goal, new vision, new dream that we in our higher selves are now being pressurized, really pushed into new paths, new projects, new goals, new dreams, new visions for us to pursue. The moon is then going to make a positive interaction with Mercury, again, ruler of the mental plane. So our heart and our head are starting to get on the same page. We have essentially captured a vision that excites us, that inspires us, that makes us want to kind of take action and make moves and actually progress on the path towards this new visual, this new circumstance, this new situation. So our heart and our head working together now on really dissecting the details of this great big dream and vision in order for us to get to work and actually start building towards whatever it is that's exciting or inspiring us at this particular point in time. 6:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mercury's going to semi-square Jupiter. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic because, of course, just when we're making some headway, just when we're kind of, feeling good about some of the prospects in which we're thinking about, that dark force energy wants to pull us on back. So here's the thing. Jupiter's the planet of growth and expansion. He tends to turn the volume all the way up on whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling at the time. And because of this, we could have overinflated, over-exaggerated goals, visuals, hopes, wishes, dreams. There is this element where, we're perceiving the world around us. We're kind of understanding some of the situations and circumstances from a different level and from a different set of eyes, from a different perspective. But we are kind of blurry on it. Again, the Pisces energy makes things very vague, very confusing. We don't really have the solid details that we want in order to actually start working with them. We have an overinflated, I'm going to say, perspective on a situation. And typically speaking, we are a little bit more hopeful and optimistic than we actually should be because we're leaning a little bit into the delusion category at this particular point in time. We could become super overwhelmed with different options, different thoughts, different ideas, different feelings. Maybe the information that we're kind of plucking out of our intuition and our intellect can be overwhelming as well. The big thing here is that we are not focused on the details because the details aren't clear, and therefore we cannot make an informed decision. We cannot align with an option under this, I'm going to say, confusing energy. We tend to exaggerate or get a little bit extra or, tap into a little bit of drama, especially where our mental plane is focused. So again, we can make a bigger deal out of situations than they actually are. We can make things a little bit bigger. I always think of the mirror on your car. When you look to your side mirror or in the rear view, it's like objects may appear closer than they actually are, or whatever it says. This is very much that. It's a skewed perception of the options and opportunities that we now have available to us. And we are filling in the blanks with the most confident, optimistic turn of events that we could possibly conjure up in our mind. But it's taking us out of being anchored into reality and more in that delusional fantasy type of column. So we want to watch out for that. And again, this is happening while the moon is void. So things aren't clear, things aren't stable at all. And we tend to kind of get a little bit ahead of ourselves. We tend to bite off more than we can chew. And we tend to make things a bigger deal than they actually need to be. So 8:05 p.m. This is when the moon is locking into Pisces energy, and we always feel the shift moving into Pisces energy because our physical bodies slow down to literally a snail's pace. We don't want to move. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to deal with life. We don't want to deal with tasks, with chores. We want to just like curl up in a comfy little ball and lose ourselves in la la land, in imaginary land. Things get heavy, things get weighted, we get sleepy, everything is very euphoric, if you will, and it can be a very lovely time if you tap into the right vibes of it all. Anywho, the moon locks into this Pisces energy, and then about an hour later, we have a beautiful interaction with Jupiter. Jupiter in this Taurus energy interacting with any Piscean energy is a beautiful thing because it allows us to take that imaginative energy, that creative energy, that fantasy, like even delusional energy, and it allows us to actually see where it is that we could bring some of these aspects to life. Jupiter wants to expand on those ideas, those thoughts, those feelings, that visual, that goal, that dream, that vision. He wants to put us in a situation, because he's in Taurus energy, to bring some of these things into form, bring them to life, create something new. And so this energy is kind of amping us up a little bit because we actually are inspired. We are actually like conjuring up a dream that we think is 100% achievable. And there's a level of excitement and inspiration and motivation that comes with that we haven't felt in a very long time. 2 minutes later, the moon is going to semi-square the North Node in Aries energy. So again, just as we were on a good vibe, just as we were piecing things together, suddenly, we have to take a step back. The step back in this particular instance is the fact that we've lost ourselves so far into la la land in this imagination type of visual exercise that we've kind of lost the footing in our physical realm on how it is that we would actually bring some of these things to life. So that North Node in Aries energy is trying to get us on the right path to bring these new options and opportunities into form, for us to get on the right path to our next soul mission, our next soul's, let's call it, potential. The semi-square creates tension and conflict. And so right now we may be in this imaginary land, but we just want to stay there. We don't want to actually come back down to earth and think about how it is that we're going to bring it to life. We don't want to do that. That overwhelms us with responsibility, with accountability. That means that we're going to have to make a to-do list, and we don't want to do that. The moon is in Pisces. We're not about doing that right now. So instead of kind of feeding off of the excitement, the inspiration, the motivation that we kind of, sparked earlier on in the day, right now, we're just like, you know what, that's good. I don't want to bring it to life right now. I just want to live in my happy little piece of paradise and, just lose myself to this lovely little visual. I don't actually want to come back down to reality and piece together what I would have to do to actually manifest it at this time. So again, Piscean energy being the escape artist or the avoidant energy of the zodiac. If it means that we have to come back down to earth and actually do something, especially where we're responsible for the outcome of our lives, we would rather pass at this moment and just live in imaginary land where everything is just rainbows and butterflies and definitely more peachy keen than in this physical reality, creating a to-do list of all that has to be done in order to break away from the old and actually initiate this chapter of trying to create the new. The last thing that we have going on here today is the moon in this Pisces energy, making a very positive interaction with Pluto, the great transformer himself, in this Aquarius energy. So things are definitely going to get weird, intensifyingly weird under this particular influence. First of all, this is a positive interaction, so this should be an empowering aha moment. This should be really aligning with the imaginative creative force energy that we are currently sitting in to conjure up a new vision, new goal, new dream, and putting us in a situation where we are actually bossing up in our inner realm of emotion, of ideas, where we actually think that we can bring this baby to life. or we're feeling good about the prospects that we are currently kind of percolating on. And again, just a reminder, the energy needs to build in our inner realm, needs to be in alignment, mind, body, and soul, before we're going to actively engage the physical body to take action and make moves, when of course the universe gives us the green light, go ahead to do so, which in this case is not now. We have to get through this new moon in Pisces. We have to kind of build towards this ending of this astrological calendar. We have to jump into the new astrological calendar. We have to have that equinox energy reset the battlefield, so to speak. That is when we are going to see an acceleration of events. But side note, we're going to be smack dab in eclipse season, and then the pre-retrograde shadow period for Mercury at that particular point in time as well. So a lot of the moves that we currently have on our mind or on our to-do list to make, we may have control over those particular actions, or the universe could take the wheel and we could definitely just be a backseat driver and see the detour that the universe wants us to take us on in order to get to where it is that we need to be in a much shorter, much more efficient kind of way.